reached in his bag, gave it to me. Didn't even say nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I looked at my wife like, telling you. But, you know, I got the recorder up. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to bring y'all on in. Hey, family, peace to you. This is our interviews where we want to formulate our perceptions of the world. Today we will provoke thought and remind ourselves of our inner greatness applied in real time as we gain high insights looking over our life's experiences. Today I got Brother Noble Anpu and his queen, his wife, Miss Nikki. These are very powerful people. I encourage you to sit back, listen, open your mind, take your time to unwind. If you got to, rewind. Go back, listen to it a few times. Just take it in, family, and apply it to see it to be true for your life. Alright. I want to start off by letting them introduce themselves and speak to the family. So, here you go.
Man, this is Anpu. I'm lying, but Nick ain't my wife, man. We just partners.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up, King.
Nah, that's all. So I don't want nobody to grab that.
Okay, appreciate
grab
that
right there. But
y'all work so good together, fam. Hey, my bad.
Sure, but you crazy. No, I'm just though, man. It's all good. But yeah, man, I'm Anpu, man. Founder of my Astrology coach. Something that we got over there called the Coel Love Fund. Co-founder of that, where we help the community pay their bills. $13 a month is a membership, and we just simply divide the pot at the end of the month by 4 and send it to four of the members, and then the next 4 people next month get it, and we just go down the line. So it's a pretty cool thing, man. So we got the Coel Love Fund. I'm also I have an algorithm that's crazy that's able to accurately foretell the major events such as the Mike Brown, the Charleston church shooting, the Boston Marathon bombing. These are events like 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. People need to understand that human consciousness and emotions are on particular cycles, and they create external events that we don't like, which is a whole other science of dialogue and whatnot. So I've done that. I host trips mainly 3 times a year on the equinoxes, spring equinox, summer solstice, first day of summer, and then the fall equinox. I usually take the winter off. Like this upcoming next month, March the 18th, we'll be in Las Vegas hosting a workshop, showing people the techniques that we use and help people improve their lives as far as attracting what they want in their life. So that's me in a nutshell, man. Just an astro god, star geek, and do trips and stuff, man. And that's really it, man. Next.
Awesome. Peace, family.
Peace, Corey.
Y'all can catch me if you like my gibberish today. Y'all can definitely catch me over on YouTube on my page at Nikki Builder. Also, my day job, I dabble in a little fashion. So I always throw that out there because, as I like to say, I make clothes for women who make their own rules. So if you want to check out more about that, please visit me over at Nikki D, like David, Nova Collection at, .bigcartel.com.
Appreciate that, family. Appreciate that. Just to start in, since we got you already on the line, I just want to get you a chance to let the people know what you do as far as the numerology and how, you know, we can apply that to our lives. Like, what got you started doing numerology? Because I know you using it for something. You know, it's not just useless information for you.
Well, you know, numerology is a divining art, you can call it, similar somewhat to astrology. Some people like to refer to it as a pseudoscience, but I think there's definitely some insight there. So, how did I get into numerology? I guess it was just kind of a natural progression as I developed into my studies in spirituality, very much interested in astrology, and it was just kind of one of those things that I picked up. I have a natural affinity for numbers, And so, numerology was definitely just a natural progression for me.
Okay.
As far as folks contacting me, I'll definitely provide my email address, which is nikkibuilds@gmail.com. And if you're interested in getting just like a general numerology reading, I can definitely shoot that to you. Something else that I'll be offering very soon is an elemental balancing program. And what that is it basically just looks at a person's natal chart and gives a general assessment of elements that may or may not be missing from a person's chart. For example, I always share with folks, I don't have any earth whatsoever in my birth chart. And so the implication that has is that I can be full of ideas, full of fire. I'm a water sign. My sun is in Cancer. And so it can portray itself as difficulty bringing my thoughts and ideas down to the planet, i.e. manifesting them. So in that report, I assess that, figure out, what's well balanced and what might be missing in your chart, and then just give some remedies as to how to, just some, practices as to how to balance that out.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I would ask that same question to you, Noble Anpu. What got you started, and what are some of the uses that you use astrology for in your everyday life?
Oh man, the starting point was just real funny for me. Been on the van. I just picked up a book, and I didn't read the book. So when I was getting the book, I was in the streets doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was funny, man, how to create a work, man. I was grabbing these books because I had a hella free time on my hand by hustling, and I'll be so damn bored. So I had time on my hand. I go to the bookstore, be in the philosophy section, grab astrology books. As soon as I go home, I'll never open the books. And I wouldn't open them until a few years later. But anyway, I started attending some classes, man, dealing with nationality and sovereignty and history in Philly. And at that particular time, I was prompted to open those books that I had. And it was just like, I call it an implosion process where it's like I'd done it before. It was just so natural.
Right.
Then I come to find out that for real, I share the same birthday with Galileo. Galileo is the infamous Italian mathematician and astronomer who discovered some moons on Jupiter. Mm-hmm. So it makes perfect sense, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Why I could naturally gravitate towards that, because one of the coldest that ever did it in the astronomy world is Galileo. So and it was just a DNA implosion for me, man. Then what I use it for, man, I use it for a host of things, bro. Helping people, playing children, jobs, careers, soul's mission, which your mission is in this lifetime. Relationship compatibility is one of my favorites. But one of my favorites, without a shadow of a doubt, is how can you activate the energy to get your desire, which is pretty much helping people find children, proper relationships and correct timing for jobs and stuff like that.
Right.
But I like getting together, like when we just did we just got through doing the gratitude club. And sometimes I wait for certain planetary alignments to happen, that represents prosperity, and then we purposely create a group whose sole purpose is to focus on prosperity and gratitude and happiness. And then we just had a 28-day one not too long ago, and within that 28 days, we did a couple 100,000. You know what I mean? People getting houses all of a sudden. It was supposed to close on the house before the group closed, but all of a sudden it mysteriously kept getting pushed back. But then all of a sudden it goes through when they join the group. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you gotta, the fun part to me is not just knowing it in theory, but purposely what I call activating the energy by doing things so you can become more prosperous and things of that nature, man. So that's what we use it for, man.
Oh yeah, I love the way y'all put that, man, because it gives so many ways that you can use it, but it's all encompassing. You know what I'm saying? It all comes full circle. Like, when you was talking about the planning of a child and fulfilling your desires, like all those things that you listed are, fulfilling our desires. We desire certain things to formulate in certain manners. So that's beautiful how we able to use our intuitions or the signs that are already provided for us. Because I have a copy of my birth chart, but I don't have it with me, because I told you I'm in the process of moving. But I remember looking at it and then doing some research on some of the things that I seen so I can understand them better. And I ran across some things that was talking about how me being a Gemini, I tend to have injuries on my left side. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, I hadn't really had nothing but like a fracture for playing football. But I didn't know what was going on at the time. Played the whole game. And still, I was in pain like a mud, but I didn't know. It was my first time being injured. But when I looked at my birth chart and they said that, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking like, hold on, I ain't never heard nothing on my left side because I done healed from that. I don't really think about it as much no more. Then a little bit after that, like probably a year or so later, I'm working, doing construction and doing landscaping at the time, and I was putting some stuff on the truck, and I was trying to hurry up because it was like the end of the day. You ready to go home. Some reason you just get a burst of energy when it's time to get out. But I'm finishing loading up the truck, getting ready to close it up, and the truck rocks. I can't tell if it's pulling off or somebody's getting in the cab, but it kind of made me anxious. So I get ready to hurry up and jump off the truck and reach for the rope, because we had a rope, so when you at the bottom, you could just pull it down, and I had to climb all the way up. So I start reaching for the rope as I'm stepping off, but I'm moving fast. So somehow the rope got caught under my foot as I'm moving, as I'm coming off of that thing. I could not put my feet down on the ground, So I wound up hurting my left side, to make a long story short. And, just wanted to show the people how, like, some of these things might not have happened to you yet. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get into some questions later on how certain people could have used foresight in order to, predict certain demises. You know what I'm saying? And often we talk about having discernment. And I know, coming from a Christian background, I used to hear that word a lot. And I know the things that y'all talking about, the tools that you're talking about applying to our lives, these are signs of the times, as well as things that we can use for discernment. So going into my next question, I wanted to ask y'all about the power of how when we think something is right or wrong, how it affects our progress.
Want to go ahead, Nick?
Why don't you kick it off, Noble?
So, the right or wrong thing, man, is a doozy. And I always like to refer to the perception of the beautiful story that was put in the Bible. So let me make a very clear statement about the Bible. We don't deal with it from a historical pretext that is these people actually live. We thoroughly understand that the book is symbolic, because you have trees that's supposed to have knowledge, you have people that's supposed to be inside of a whale's belly. It just don't make logical sense. It sounds like a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. Because they're painting a picture for you to use the right side of your brain, the more abstract picture aspect of yourself, higher consciousness. So they painted a story about this whole tree of life, which is eternal. And then they also had another tree in that garden that said it was a tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now this is the tree of duality. And once you eat of this tree of good and evil, you would die. Now this is interesting, because you would think that death should be the opposite of the tree of life. So it shouldn't be on the tree of knowledge of evil, because knowledge and evil, good and evil has its duality, good and evil. Death is the opposite of life. So why ain't death over there on the tree of life? Well, they were cleverly telling you that once you perceive something to be bad, and you get into this chronic state of bad because you don't like things that's bad. The woman don't like the spider. She don't like the snake. We just don't like things that are bad. Right. It creates stress, and an overabundance of stress will start to kill you. You start to surely die. And like I said before, when you understand the number one killer in America, really in the world, is heart issues, right? But what's the number one cause of the heart issues? Stress. Okay, what is stress? Well, stress is defined as a response to external stimuli. What's external stimuli? A sound. Somebody says something that you don't like, they call you a bee. Somebody touch you, somebody look at you a certain way. You smell something you don't like, you see something you don't like. So if you seeing something that you don't like is creating stress, fine. So now this stress is now messing up the hearts of a lot of people in the world. Cool. What's the number one cause of stress then? Money. Wait a minute. Money can't physically do anything to you.
Right.
It's not running from you. It's not hitting you. It's not choking you. It's not abusing you. It can't physically do anything to you. So therefore, your perception of it or the lack thereof is creating a problem. Frankly, so we understand I don't got enough money to pay the bills. I got to get the children some clothes. I got, we understand that. But it is clearly your perception of the object, of the stimuli, that is creating the stress, and not the stimuli itself, because money can't do anything. So, the right and wrong thing, what we specialize in is getting you to reclassify how you classify an experience, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And this is it's not even hard. One of my favorites, there's two methods we can do, but I'll give my favorite one. We got to get to a place called divine understanding, right? We can't say we believe in a mentor or an intelligent being, God, and whatnot, and not understand that whatever I'm experiencing is ordained by this creator to get me to understand something. So in other words, I say, what is the blessing inside of the lesson? Can you get that? If you can really extract that, and I mean truly get that, now you walking away with you good. You start to add more life to you. So in the case of a severe case, let's just say my sister was physically, sexually abused by one of my mom's boyfriends. I left home super early. I ain't been home since I was 15 years old. And my mom made my sister swear not to tell me. At that time, I had been 2 days over anyway, but they didn't tell me until mad years later. But anyway, so for my sister, the technique I'm giving her to get rid of that or reclassify that is, well, what are some of the things that happen as a result of that where you can now be proactive and productive? Meaning now you can tell my niece, which is her daughter, how to speak up and how to, the necessary precautions that my mother didn't have. Now that my sister has. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. That
she can share. Now you can tell by, let's just say, the body language. I have a client who went through a similar situation, and I remember months back she was, her who she calls her father, which is really her uncle, because her father was absent, but her uncle was the next thing, so she always called her uncle father. But she noticed that he was kind of displaying some behavior patterns that mirrored her abuser from years ago, and she thought that maybe she was bugging until time progressed and he made a pass at her.
Right.
And when he made that pass, it totally just, she recognized it clearly because he made a pass, and then she was able to make the adjustments and pretty much in that relationship after all these years.
Right.
And see, sometimes, and I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but sometimes we have to go through a traumatic experience to get the value or get the lesson out of it, because it's going to show up again. And if you don't get the lesson, then you're going to fail again. So we have to be able to get to a point of divine understanding where you can see the divinity of the lesson, or the blessing inside of the lesson. And if you can truly get that, like that bee going inside of that flower just to extract the essence for survival, then you are good money, because now the brain starts to reconsolidate that experience as something that produced positivity in other areas of my life. And that's what we need to get on. And that's the whole mystery behind it, the whole right and wrong thing.
Right. I appreciate you sharing that with us, family, because, I went through similar experiences maybe like 2 years later than you, as far as the, being 15 years old and leaving the house, and family going through all kind of experiences that they didn't want to, tell us about, because, knowing how we would respond to it. And you giving information to your sister to help her prevent, a lot of times we deal with not being able to deal with conflict resolution when things happen, but it's important to, put forth things to prevent those type of things, you know what I'm saying? So that was beautiful how you shared that with your sister. Too often, us as men, we think we just gotta respond by, violence or things that may put ourselves in harm's way, you know what I'm saying? And there's levels to dealing with things. I appreciate you sharing that part with us, to give other people different insight on ways they can handle things in real time. But I have another question as well. How does the judgment of others affect us? And, I'm contexting this question in relation to, like, alternative facts. With the previous election that we just went through, Donald Trump did not, he did not take in how the world was perceiving him. Even with, people showing up to his events, he wouldn't even, take in the fact that in the beginning wasn't nobody really showing up, until he started believing that the people was there, you know what I'm saying? And even speaking into existence that it was crowded. And truth be told, wasn't nobody supporting him. I didn't really watch the race like I did with Barack, which kind of got me more in tune with what goes on with politics. I think that was the benefit of him. But I didn't really watch like the full thing. But when I checked in, it seemed like Hillary was winning. I don't know. Anybody else could probably clue me in if she was winning the whole time, but it looked like she was like just dominating. But to wake up the next day and see that he had won, and to, see that he was using alternative facts or an alternative way of viewing his life. Too often we get stuck in where we are and we can't get out of it because that's all we looking at or we focusing on. So I wanted to ask you, how does the judgment of others affect us when it comes to, us progressing ourselves?
Hey, this is specialty right here. Go ahead.
Well, in regards to Donald Trump, the reality is, we gotta get comfortable. Is we gotta see it to achieve it. And Donald Trump, whether we view him or perceive him to be a villain, or we perceive him to be a hero, he's a great demonstration of that, right? Like you said, he used alternative facts. And Minister June just did a beautiful presentation about that fact, So really the question that I hear you asking, it's related again to this idea of perception. And so what I wanted to touch on in this concept is that we have to understand that our perception is our energetic currency, right? So if that's true, then what does that mean? If it's our energetic currency, then that means that, our perception is like our energetic money. We can make investments in this thing, right? So when you invest into a thing, well, what does it do? It grows, right? So that which we give our attention to is that which we give rise to. Facts, right? And we like to believe in our society, because we live in this, this tangible society. We can see, touch, feel, right? We can perceive things with our five senses. And we are often fooled into believing that nothing exists outside of those five senses, which is craziness, right? And so, a lot of folks have been asking me, well, what's your perception on Trump? How you feeling about the inauguration? How you settling with this whole, political inauguration and all of this stuff that's going on? I'm not bothered or moved by it one way or another, right? I wouldn't care if a giant blue freaking alien was in office right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be afraid because I'm clear that my perception is king. My perception is the investment that I'm making, right? So it's just like, everybody's mamas, when you was a kid, you fight with your brothers and sisters, and when he's looking at me, you have to be looking at him to know that he's looking at you.
Right.
Perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's perception. And it is absolutely pertinent for us to understand what Trump really did, right? And I'm not talking about him from a moral level. I'm not talking about him, from a personal level of whether or not I like him. We got to learn to get outside our feelings, especially black folks.
Right.
You can get on social media at any point, today, yesterday, over the past few weeks since this inauguration, even before that with the election. And a lot of folks, especially black folks, have invested themselves, if you will, into a space of just complete shutdown. He's not my president. I'm a wait to see what happens over the next 4 years. I hope he don't put us on those ships and send us back to Africa. We've gone into a space of shutdown. And guess what that's going to produce for us? It's going to produce lack of results in our 3D reality. We're gonna be trying to figure out why I can't produce nothing, why I can't get this money. Well, you've already fed into the idea that Trump is going to fail the entire financial system. You've already invested into the idea that the world is going to go to hell and Trump is going to start a nuclear war. So these are the things that folks are going to start to see unfold in their personal realities. But what's very, very interesting about that is that's not going to be the experience of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have folks on the cusp like myself, like Noble, right, who don't deal with this very false perception that our physical reality is all that there is. We got to get out of that idea because it is simply not true. And so like Noble said, we've got to learn to extract the jewels from these lessons. We got to learn to extract the jewels from these, so-called traumatic experiences. And once we can do that, that's when we can really grow. So when I look at this whole Trump thing, I think it's so interesting because what I think is really happening right now, I was looking at Scandal last week with Kerry Washington, and they make the statement on the show that there were two executives in the White House talking to each other, and the conversation went something to the effect of, you and I both know that the people do not elect the president. The Electoral College does. And this was the first time, especially black folks, because black women love scandal. Black folks love scandal, right? So this was the first time that a lot of us were even hearing this concept. Now, I majored in political science in college. I already knew that shit, right? So when people start getting surprised, and Trump was a very beautiful opportunity, if we can look at it that way, for us to get a little bit closer to reality, right? And not just closer to reality, because now what people are going to start saying to themselves, and I'm starting to see the memes go around, next November we're going to get an opportunity to elect the representatives, and da-da-da. Now people are going to start becoming more concerned about local politics. If you want to affect change in politics, it is done on a local level. That's something people have been very ignorant about. So that's one of the realities, right, that Trump is going to bring us closer to. Now people are going to start informing themselves a little bit better about how politics work. Okay, well, now that I know that the general election is really just a futile exercise in folks rallying and coming together and wanting to be patriotic, and it is really a symbolic gesture, let me find out a little bit more about how this electoral college works and when it is that I need to be at the polls to vote for them. Because now I understand that politics works a lot differently than what I thought it did, before Trump. This is the realization that people are going to start coming to. And that's a wonderful thing. We can extract the jewel out of that. The other reality that if folks can step outside of their feelings, the other reality that we should be able to get a little bit closer to through this experience called, the Orange President or Donald Trump is there is a reality beyond our five senses that is far more powerful than anything we can conceive on this very limited experience called planet Earth. What's the proof of that? Donald Trump is in office signing executive orders right now.
True.
Via the tool of his imagination, called the alternative facts, right? Just like you said, when they would ask him questions, man, you losing in the polls, what's going on? Oh, I know such thing to be true. He's sitting in the Oval Office right now. So what that tell you?
It works to believe in yourself. All right. I want to ask, how can we explain, or what does it seem? Why does it seem that the divine and the masculine seem to be at odds? Context is basically like from an energy standpoint, as well as like, in real time, maybe go into like how Aries and Gemini energy affect each other, how they appear to be volatile but yet balance each other out and encourage growth. Also, like, speak on like right now, I've been affected, I would say, by Mercury retrograde. For one, like, I'm a Gemini, so that Mercury planet, how it affects us. But other Geminis in my life, I seen, as much as they came forward, I seen them go back in certain areas to certain things. They was like, nah, I never go back to that. So I just want to ask y'all, how can we explain, or why does it seem that the masculine and the feminine energy seem to be at odds? And maybe use the example of, the Gemini and the Aries, how they relate. And for Nikki, maybe go into some numbers. If I had to throw out some, I would say for the Aries, 15, and for the Gemini, 621. I think Aries is like, April. Ain't that April and March?
Late March through early April.
Okay, so
that is late May through early June.
So March 15, ain't that like the last day of taxes or something like that?
April.
Ain't that it though?
No, April 15th is tax day.
Okay, so April 15 and 621 for the numbers. But, as far as astrology, Aries and Gemini.
Right. Well, the Aries and Gemini combination is interesting. Because we got fire with Aries, it's a fire sign, and Gemini's an air sign. So by elemental placement, these two are considered masculine, and they are compatible because fire needs to share the breeze. So these two by nature are what we call the Yang principle, active masculine principle, which is full of ideas and activity. Fire is activity. Air is motion as well. It's the spirit. Let's go. So these two really complement each other from a music standpoint. So it's a lot of, it's a lot of creativity. Entrepreneurship is the mark of some sort, I would think. Or just really being focused on whatever that relationship desire is, that collective goal. It should be very easy for these two to get to, provided, some other factors also for, in alignment as well. When we deal with first part of the question, the imbalance in relationship stems from a host of things. A whole bunch of stuff that obviously from the energies of the people, and they're not, they don't see. This is the thing, man. A lot of people don't understand that when you see a person and you like, oh wow, she's beautiful, and she's like, wow, he looks good too, and they they kind of see each other in that intimate setting, they in the club, and then all of a sudden they start coming towards each other, right?
Right.
Well, there's that invisible force that you feel. They ain't touching you, but that you feel is magnetism, electromagnetism. And if you understand electricity, life force energy, it has to have duality. You call positive and negative. We can call it male and female, but when we really look into it inside of astrology, for example, we take the Aries and we take the Cancer, and we got, water and fire. It could potentially be a no-no, potentially. You know what I mean? Because you know what water and fire do with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but what we don't know is we are actually attracted to the negativity in the person. Let me be clear about this. I'm talking about electromagnetism attraction, because remember, you still got a positive and a negative pole that make it exist. So you are attracted to the negative that's inside of a person. That don't mean you like their negative character traits.
Right.
But at the core, you still attracted to them because you was like, ooh, wow, you look good. And you start vibing with the person. And it's not until, as you say, time passes that you start to see some things like, okay, the mask thing came off, and now this is what I don't like, and I can't do this no more type of thing. But you were initially attracted to that because of the basis of how electromagnetism works in our reality. And so the discord comes from, to a degree, us not understanding. See, I'll say it this way, like, we never get in a relationship with the intentions on breaking up. It just don't happen. Hey, let's get together. Okay, well, let's break up on December 31st of this year. Okay,
right,
cool.
Right.
And let's be, like, we don't do it. But maybe we should start having those kind of dialogues in a sense, like, when we first get together, let's go at it for a year. Let's come up with a group objective and, a collective objective for the relationship. And then at the end of the year, let's just have a review, like it's business. You know what I'm saying? Because it is business, because you got to handle certain things. And you understand, it's in the Scorpio frequency, when you understand what that really represents. It's not just about sex. It's about joint resources. Who you share with. Are you sharing accounts with each other? Or even if you're not sharing accounts with each other, there's some agreement on how the financial responsibility is flowing inside of the dynamic of the household. If you're sharing houses, right? And so we got to understand and be really, really real, you know what I mean? And see if there's a way, and there is a way that we can determine the laws of compatibility before we even engage and see what is it that you're actually attracted to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So a classic example for this, and for the listening audience, I want you to Google this term. Just Google Mars opposition Mars in astrology and see what pops up. Because I guarantee you should see something that talks about fighting, and it just can get very nasty because that energy represents the part of our nature that fights, and everybody has a right to defend themselves.
Right.
The first law is self-preservation. So that's Aries. I gotta defend myself.
Right.
So if you were born with Mars and Gemini, and a person was born with Mars and Sagittarius, this is directly opposite each other. On the wall clock, this is 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So when these two people, if Mars is the masculine aspect of sexual energy, you feel that tension, but this person is beautiful, but the tension that you're really feeling is, I want to F the out of you. You look that good, I want to F you. That's what Mars is. That's that masculine energy. But what you don't know is, since it's an opposition between you two, that energy turns into the other thing called shut up, you getting on my nerve, F you, who you talking to? Mother, and then you start fighting. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the classic definition of the Mars opposite Mars. But you was duped into the negative pull, because negative energy still has a magnetic pull. It just does. You see what I'm saying? So the chaos comes in when we're not knowing the energetic constitution that we have. So when Nikki spoke earlier, she said, well, I don't have no earth. What she was saying is, when she was born, there was not one planet, and she means it, not one single planet in Capricorn, not one single planet in Virgo, and not one single planet in Taurus. So for her as an overall energetic being, because she's a light being, she has a heartbeat and a brainwave.
Right.
She has electricity in her body. So she's definitely an energetic being, but inside of her energetic constitution, she has no cosmic energy inside of the earth frequency, is what she's saying. You see what I'm saying? So once we start to know on an energetic level how you are cosmically constituted, then it starts to make sense. It says, okay, how do I balance this? Well, I develop a green thumb and a half plant. I put my feet in the dirt. I make sure when I do business, the earth signs are practical about the money. I make sure that I surround myself with people who are within that particular element to help balance where I need the help at. You see what I'm saying? Where I'm a little deficient at. So basically, gross ignorance of ourselves is what creates the chaos inside of your head.
Make perfect sense. Perfect sense. All right, Sister Nikki.
I looked at it. So tell me, where you pulling them dates from that you gave me, just out of curiosity?
You ready for that?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
The 415, that's my queen. I'm 621.
Wait, hold on. How you get 415 mixed up with 315 if that's your queen?
I was trying not to go there, but you know, sometimes you like, do I want to know? Nah, I said, okay, that's her. That's her.
Okay, so you're 615.
No, I'm 621, and she's 415.
Okay, you did tell me 621. That's what I got. Okay, so you didn't give me a year. So if you were trying to get an idea of like compatibility, that's difficult for me to do without both of your birth years. But what I did do,
I can give you that right quick while you doing that. 86 and 80.
I'm already. Hold on.
My bad.
83 for who?
No, I was finna say 86 for 621 and 88 for 415.
Okay, I'll give me a minute and I'll do those. What I did do, since you didn't give me a year originally, I went ahead and added. I did it as this year. So basically, in numerology, there's something that you can calculate called your personal year, right? So each year in itself, right? We're in 2017, so 2017 has its own energetic imprint, which is one, right? So I just added this year to YouTube's birthdays to find out what your personal year is. Now, does your personal year actually start January 1st, 2017? No, not technically. Some numerologists will say yes, it starts when the new year comes in. My personal preference is that it actually starts on your birthday, because that's what we're dealing with these numbers. We're dealing with your birthday.
Right.
So that's really the tone. So when I wish people happy birthday, I always say happy personal new year, because that's when you got on the map. That's when your clock started. So that's your new year. Okay? So for your wife, who is an Aries on April 15th, her personal year is the 2. And then for you, what's your birthday, Gemini, at June 21st, your personal year is a 1. And at first, when I did it just without the years and just looked at it real quickly, it was your wife was 1 and you were a 9. But without your birth years, that doesn't really give me enough information. So I'm like, well, I gotta add a year. So I'm like, boom, let's put 2017 on there and see what happens. And funny enough, you two actually kind of switch places with each other, being that Aries came out as a 2 personal year, right? And then you, Gemini, coming out as a 1 personal year. And so what do those numbers mean? So the reason I said y'all switch places is because Aries being the first sign, right, the first astrological sign, is usually associated with the number 1, right? That's that sense of self, right? Noble and I did a show about it, and there's a lot of confusion, right? Especially now, you know, we live in a society where folks are at least starting to come into like this spiritual awareness and wanting to know more information about, you know, that subtle realm that we can't see, we can't taste, we can't touch. Folks want to know more about it. So we're becoming introduced to different ideas like, you know, self-love and, we're contrasting that to, what's the difference between selfishness and versus self-love, right? So that's really Noble and I did a show, we dealt with that, especially as that pertains to Aries. So that's a distinction that's really important to understand, and it can be confusing for folks. And I'm always fascinated by social media because I think social media is a really great indicator of the public psyche. Just look at the conversations people are having. Just look at the memes that people are posting. You can see people's real, authentic thoughts. And so there's this confusion. Well, what's the difference between selfishness and self-love, right? And that's what Aries deals with. Aries is the house of self, how we perceive ourselves, and then through that perception, how we interact, how we show up in the rest of the world, right? So that's that number one, me. Who am I within and of myself? Do I know who I am? Am I, as Noble so beautifully stated, it is our gross ignorance of ourselves that creates a lot of this trauma. So starting at that first gate, do you know who you are, right? That's the great spiritual epithet, right? Know thyself. What does that really mean? A big part of knowing thyself, and a lot of us, we got to retrain ourselves, really. One of the first things we should know about ourselves, and the first things that we should see when we can actually, understand it, is that natal chart. That natal chart is so important. If you don't know and understand, a general sense of what that natal chart really means, you're going to be banging your head up against 1,000 walls for the rest of your life trying to figure out why you're having difficulty manifesting things down on the planet. Why do I have all of these ideas and I just can't seem to bring anything into fruition? Well, the implication would be you probably got some issues with Earth in your chart. These are the things that we have to know about ourselves. Because we all, I like to say we are all cosmological cocktails, right? We all got different mixtures. You got a little air, you got a little earth, you got a little this, you got a little that. Maybe you got a whole lot of fire in there. So it's your job to figure out what that mixture is. Because like I said before, we come here with a set of gifts as well as we come here with a set of challenges. And what that means, that's really a beautiful illustration of the fact that through the idea that we come here with these gifts, we also come here with the challenges. What are the challenges? I said it before. The challenges are opportunities for us to become greater, right? A person can have things in their birth, in their natal charts that indicate, wild success, fame, fortune, great relationships. But just because those things are present does not mean that you have activated them, right? So we got to be aware of what that chart really looks like so that we can know what tools we came here with and which ones in our toolbox, which tools in the toolbox actually need to be sharpened. So getting back to this numerology piece, like I said, Aries is usually associated with one because that's the sense of self, right? And funny enough, your personal year is a 1, so that's going to be your focus for this year, Gemini. Your focus is going to be, and so we go through these, in numerology, we go through these cycles of 9, right? So 9 is the birth, and then 1, you start all over again. And this is my perception of that 1, right? I have a 3.5-year-old, and I got pregnant with my baby. I carried my baby, right? And most women can relate to this process who've had a baby before, right? You get to about month 7, month 8, and you just fall in love with it. It's wonderful being pregnant. I could be pregnant forever. I could do this again. And then about month 9, you get tired, right? And you're just ready to get that baby out of there. Then the anxiety, the anticipation starts to grow. You're tired, you're big as hell, and you're just ready to get that baby out of there, right? Well, for a lot of women and parents in general, sometimes we think, we're misled into thinking that, the after we push the baby out, that's the hard part, right? The baby gonna get here, we good. I'm good. Now I'm a normal person again. I ain't got this huge belly bulging out of me. But little do we realize is we're gonna start it over. We in a whole new part of the game. We in a whole new cycle now. So that's what I'm talking about with those cycles of 9. We give birth, and now it's time to start all over again. Now you got a newborn in the house. There's nothing like learning how to take care of a newborn the first time around, right? You got to learn everything from scratch.
Right.
So that's how I like to look at that. Number one, it's a new cycle, you know. But now is the time for you to be doing some planning and figuring out what it is that you want to see over this next 9-year cycle that you just started, basically. Your wife, on the other hand, she switched places with you because she has a 2 personal year. And I relate to Gemini because Gemini is the great duality. It's the great pillars, right? So 2, with a 2 personal year, the focus there is on duality, on partnerships, right? So your wife right now is really going to be wanting to focus on, she's a little ahead of you here, right? Because she's in the next year. So she's going to be wanting to now focus on what your 2 partnership is going to look like over the next 9 years. What are some of those goals? You're always going to be dealing with goals and right, giving energetic currency to those things, giving energy to those things, right? Perceiving them, keeping that target, you know, laser focused, right? So you just continue to develop these concepts and through the beauty of Father Time. You know, that's simply, a lot of us are afraid of time. A movie that I love that came out last year is the second installment of Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. That is a really good story about our very troubled relationship with time, right? We live in this reality, you know, we say, you know, life's a bitch and then you die. Well, life's only a bitch when you are, right? And how do we achieve doing that, right? Being the proverbial bitch. Well, you don't know thyself. You don't know nothing about your chart, so now you're just subject to, you know, whatever the cosmos got going on. And you spoke to it a little bit earlier, brother. Can we do some planning? Can we get ahead of the curve? Oh, absolutely. When we know that birth chart, right? Right. When we know what's coming up and we know what to expect because we've done the planning, we've done the research, we're already aware. So that's really what y'all dealing with those 1 and 2 personal years.
Right. And it's like y'all hit it on the head. Like I always say, when people ask me, how you know what you doing is right, how you know you living the right life, you know what I'm saying, or the lifestyle, I usually say because my every step is confirmed. You know, I see something when I go where I head, you know what I'm saying, that reassures me. And everything that y'all just said are the things that we are applying in real time, you know. And a lot of times we look at things, like I looked at my natal chart, and when the brother gave it to me, it was a brother in Cleveland. He come from the School of Thought of the Moorish Science Temple. And he had did it for me. I looked at the chart. He told me to just, you know, you're not going to really know what you're looking at your first couple of times looking at it, but just study it. Just study it. Just study it. It'll come to you. So over time, certain things was coming to me, as well as, like I said, my steps was being confirmed. So it's like I realized in my life, a lot of times for me, it's a matter of just my experiences are there for me to remember who I am. You know what I'm saying? I know other people phrase it differently, but for me, that's the understanding that I've grasped, is I'm remembering who I am through going through the process of life. My next question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you up. And I just wanted to bring that back around to what I was talking about earlier with the fact that just because it's present doesn't mean that it's been activated. So I love what you said about all of these experiences are here to remind you. You're absolutely right about that, right? We all have a code locked inside of us, right? We got a few different codes, right? We got our cosmic code, that's our natal chart, right? Then you also got that DNA code inside of you, right? So the experience, like you said, they are here to unlock that greatness. They're simply here to remind you. They're simply here to wake up those gifts that you know, got from your ancestors. That's what that is. That implosion, that awakening that Nova was talking about.
Right. And the experiences we go through are just elements at play, because like you said, there are many codes affecting us, you know, our mother's natal charts, our natal charts, you know what I'm saying? Like we can't look away from any of the spectrum and get a full grasp of what's going on. what can we, like, because I hear Noble Anpu and Minister Juice speak a lot about imagination and the power of imagination. Now, to bring this question full circle, I want to speak to, like, I remember being a child and, you know, being told to do away with our imagination, you know, the imaginary friend, the creativity. Huh?
Absolutely. I say one of the biggest lies they ever told us, but yes, absolutely.
Right. And I also want to speed it forward to, like, when your child is like a teenager, especially with male children. Me dealing with my mother, I know she meant well and trying to tell me different things to prevent a lot of things, but in certain instances, it was things that I was experiencing that she wasn't, she hadn't had the chance to experience from my perspective, I would say. So it would seem a lot of times like she was burning bread on me. And, you know, when you believe certain things are going to happen, usually they do, even if it's not to you. You know what I mean? So I want to speak to how, my question basically is, what can we use our imagination for when our babies are being shot down in the streets? Like, can we use it to protect them? You know, and speak to how, you know, when we speak down on our children or speak negative into their lives, how we plant the seed. And it's not necessarily all the child, but it's all those elements at play that lead to the, you know, the demise, or like you were speaking to earlier, the chance to learn a lesson to gain a blessing. I think that's how you phrase.
Was that question specifically to one of us or just whoever?
No, go ahead, you can lead it.
Yeah. Okay.
The first question you asked is, what can we use our imagination for?
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple, me and everything. Any
Right.
and everything. Absolutely. It is negligent of us not to understand this science, first of all. It is also negligent of us not to understand that we barely got to lift a damn finger to see change, to see the results we want to see in this world. We barely have to lift a finger, and that's a really interesting concept, right? Because we've been fighting injustice, especially as a people, right? We've been fighting injustice for hundreds of years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've picked up the goods, right? I come from Oakland, California. I tell you one thing about the Panthers,
The
right?
Mm-hmm.
We've done the revolutions, we've done the marching, we've done everything but one thing: use our damn imagination.
Right.
And I know from experience that it works.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
All day.
So what can we use our imagination for? Absolutely. And that is a beautiful way to use our imaginations. We can use our imaginations to heal ourselves, to heal our children.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. We can use our imaginations to protect ourselves, to protect our children. Absolutely. I wanted to speak to also what you said about that negative voice sometimes that our children can inherit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, of course, we are our children's first teachers. I heard the saying once before that the voice or the tone that you use with your children becomes their inner voice in adult life, which is a really interesting concept, because when that really gives us some insight into our responsibility as parents, right? We are here to demonstrate. We are here to demonstrate. And something I find myself saying often or pointing out very often is this contradiction with many parents, right? And especially in our community, there's this idea that, I'm the parent, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm in charge, do as I say. Not necessarily as I do, right? But that's not how children learn. Children are watching first. You don't give a damn what you're talking about. They are watching you first, right? So a great example, I was dealing with that earlier this week. A friend of mine who has a teenage daughter, and she just found herself really frustrated with her daughter because her daughter is not really focusing on school. She's messing up in school. She doesn't like that, and she seems to get into a lot of fights with her teacher.
Right.
So I'm sitting down and I'm talking to her, and from a space of love, from a space of compassion, but also at the same time honesty. And I like to believe that is my gift, is to be able to deliver that difficult pill to swallow called truth with a whole lot of love on it. Because I'm not doing it from a space of judgment, but a lot of times people come and ask me questions, and we become accustomed to sort of protecting people's feelings and not telling them the truth because we don't want them to feel bad about themselves. But my thing is this: if you came and asked me the question, especially me, you must really want the answer.
Right.
So as I'm sitting down with this sister, and we going through this, she's sharing with me her frustrations and all of these things, and how she just doesn't understand how her daughter is so disrespectful to her teachers, and she got this mean streak and so on and so forth. And I had to bring up to her, Trish, I just heard you call your daughter a bitch a couple hours ago. Literally. You yell at your child all the time. You cuss her out all the time. You call your son a nigga all the time.
Right.
What do you think? What message are you sending them about themselves? What should she think about herself, right? Furthermore, if your first response to her is anytime you get frustrated with her for you to jump off the handle and get to cursing and want to hit, throw stuff, of course she has a bad temper. She learned it from you.
Right.
So no, she doesn't have the self-discipline. She doesn't have the restraint to control herself when her emotions start to rise. Right? So again, our children are watching us. If we identify things in our children, and I'm almost 100% certain of this, I have yet to see this idea be contradicted. When we identify things within our children that we so-called dislike, if we really want to get to the, and in our community, Black mothers are so funny. We think we can, beat these negative qualities out of our children. We can yell them out of our children. We can cuss them out of our children, right? But here's my thing. We've been doing it for so long, and it's not working, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. The Black community is, I love my people. I love us, but I'm honest about us. I'm honest with where we are. We are a psychotic people. We are so detached from reality. Why are we detached from reality? Because we ain't passed through that first gate successfully. We don't know ourselves. We haven't gotten familiar with ourselves, right? We don't actually believe, and again, this idea of perception. You got a lot of Black folks running around, especially in the conscious community, claiming to be, gods and kings and queens. Yet their lives are in shambles. They live in chaos. How is that possible? There's a conflict between what they believe and what they actually see in their reality. So when somebody presents themselves to me as, conscious, and that's a term that I use very loosely. I don't even like the term. But when a person when a person tells me that they're conscious, I'm already clear. You probably got a lot of trauma in your life. Because what does the conscious community teach us? Especially when we first start to come into this consciousness, it's about becoming aware of all the wrong things that have been done to us. Well, if you God, how's somebody doing something to you? Right? How is that even possible? Like, you don't actually believe that shit. You don't believe you God. Nigga, how you God and you ain't got heaven in your household? You ain't got peace in your household. Nigga, you living in somebody's basement. You ain't God. Come on. We got to get really real about what it is that we believe. What it is that we are giving this energetic currency to. What are we making that investment into? Right? And bringing it back to your question about parenting and how it is that that voice, how important that voice is. The things that we give our attention to are the things that we invest in. Those are the things that we grow. And so a lot of times as parents, we can get so caught up in frustration with our children. Oh, you act just like your daddy, right? And that's another big problem right there in our community. We wanna be the daddy out of our children that, because we don't like the daddy no more. Well, you should have made that assessment before you had the baby. It's too late now, right? I'm just having this conversation with another friend the other day. It's too late for that. See, a lot of times we want to do the cleanup after the job is it's already done.
Mm-hmm.
It's already done, right? So if we can get present in that first gate with ourselves, get present in that second gate of Taurus with what we genuinely value. And I love, we've been talking about Gemini for the past couple of weeks. Gemini, I like to call Gemini, and some people will say my Libra is my. For me, Gemini is that first gate, that first crossroads that we really get to, right? That's the great parallel.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the skills of my eye. I like to say that Gemini is the skills of my eye, because what is my eye? My eye is the skills that your heart gets weighed on to determine whether or not your is going to heaven or hell, right?
Right.
Well, what's the next sign? Cancer. Cancer is home. That's heaven right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you got peace in your home, when you and wifey getting along with each other and y'all in harmony with each other, home is heaven, right?
That's the only time
when
I'm
you in
happy.
conflict, what does it become? Hell like a motherfucker, don't it?
Yes.
When mama ain't happy, ain't nobody in the house happy.
Not
right?
at all.
So what becomes very clear within that as well is that as women, that's something we got to get really, really present with. As women, we are the gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
We're the gatekeepers. So when we find devils in heaven, we gotta go back and check with the security guard. Who let this nigga in?
Right.
So same thing with our children. That voice, is that voice, the things that we speak to in our children, the things that we notice and give voice to, that is the investment that we are making in our children. And a lot of I used to work with kids. A lot of our children are learning that they get more attention out of negative behavior than they do out of positive behavior.
Right.
And that in itself creates a psychosis in our children that lets them believe, no, I need to act a donkey. I need to act a fool so that I can have my parents' attention, right? That's the only time my mama pays attention to me. Other than that, she always on her cell phone, or she, always out somewhere hanging out and clubbing and doing all of these things until it's time to get me in check about something. We've got to learn to reprioritize. We got to, first of all, get present with what it is we want to see in our reality and prioritize that. Give investment to that. Give perception. Give energy to that. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you definitely did. I appreciate that perspective.
So, let me try it. Okay, I thought I was on me. You know what? I want to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
When Nick spoke about time, right? This aspect of our consciousness that we struggle with. Because sometimes, I know this is a stickler for a lot of people, and we kind of hear this fancy stuff, I call it's really metaphysical mumbo jumbo. Time is in another dimension. Man, listen, man, time is a freaking measurement. We need to stop playing these games.
Right.
When you're dealing with time, you are measuring one object in reference to another one. Whether it's you have to be at work at 4 o'clock, or whether you're clocking the speed of something and what time it's going to get there, or it's just simply a measurement. So when we have this issue with time, what we really have is an inability to properly measure our success. Success meaning I have an agreed commitment that I am going to do X, Y, Z, boom, 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 boom. So we got to cut the bull crap, because sometimes we get into this metaphysical stuff like that, and it's like it becomes this lofty concept, or Saturn rules time, and we think it's all in the cosmos. And what we're saying is this is a part of your psychology that you really have to get down, because one thing's for certain with the time thing is if that is an attribute that goes to Saturn, and it does, then you can't access the higher gates of spirituality, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. Those are planets that technically sit beyond Saturn. You can't see anything past Saturn with the naked eye. This is the last star on Sabbath, 7 days of the week right here. So you have to master this particular concept of your own personality so you can get to the higher dimension. Sometimes we like to skip around in a sense, and you know what I mean? We so spiritual, but we don't know how to, like Nick just said, but you and somebody facing it. And it's technically, and I can take it easy on that person that's in that situation, but I know what you're getting at. That's not your preferred choice of living.
Mm-hmm.
And because who wants to be in somebody's basement? Let's be 100. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
not. So therefore, it's something that's missing. And what's missing is the correct application of the information.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I just want to hit on that.
Right.
The imaginative. You asked a good question. What can we do? And how can we use the imagination to deal with police brutality? Ooh-wee. Let me tell you something, man. And I've been placed under a gag order, okay, from i.e. Minister Jew's ass, I'm writing his ass out. He don't want me to show a specific piece of work that I've done on a DVD because, and I understand, because practice immaturely could hurt someone or yourself. But you gotta have enough magnetism to be able to pull it off anyway. I'm strongly convinced of that. So my point is, I give you a fact of what we can do, because you gotta remember that all thoughts become things. Because we do this every day. I always say it like, today I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna brush my teeth, I'm gonna wash my face, I'm gonna get dressed, I'm gonna go to whatever, I'm gonna go get this new car, I'm gonna get my driver's license. We always see it in the mind's eye first, and then we execute it till it becomes a physical reality. So it's not a strange concept. That's what I'm about to get into. Can our collective thoughts create an external event? Absolutely. Facts. On December the 31st, 2010, I did a radio show on Blog Talk called The Science of the Number 13. And I was basically saying, I'm going to show you how to program a number. We always see the number, 33 and 111, and always see this. And then, okay, fine, that's great, but that's a sign. But how do you activate the number to make it work for yourself? That's what you got to get into, the activation of it. So I do this show called The Science of the Number 13 because we come from a place in the United States of America. It has its origins with 13 colonies, 13 stars and stripes, Friday the 13th. And we know, cosmically speaking, this is a great jewel that really represents the Syrian energy being the brightest star in all of the heavens. I mean, out of all the stars in the heavens, there's one that's the absolute brightest, and it's Sirius. Mm-hmm. But you got to understand, the spirit world spit it back to you in a physical form so you can get it, and then give you Sirius XM satellite, which will be the most successful satellite company out there doing radio. Right. Because they purposely align themselves up with the brightest star in the heavens, which is technically our binary twin, as Nick calls it, which is, it's so far away, it looks like a star, but it's really a sun. It's our sun, and it's where our solar system is actually moving towards the gravitational pull of Sirius. So we got to ask the question, since we're spinning on the Earth and the solar system is moving, well, where are we going? Because we're going somewhere, because we're moving. Where are we going? We're going into the light of Sirius. That's where we're going. Now, December 31st, 2010, I did this radio show talking about the science of the number 13. Why? Because I was about to get ready to reprogram this frequency. Remember, we live in a culture that deals with Friday the 13th, Jason gonna get you. Right. So, since this country has its origin of the number 13, and I know cosmically what this represents, I gave an order out. Back in these days, in 2010, 2011, I used to do broadcasts called This is Serious Emergency Broadcast. Right. If I ever get that call out, that means, listen, you rock with me, stop what you're doing, tune in tonight, because it's one of those special bulletins. Beep, beep, beep. Special bulletin. It's one of those. I'm dead serious, because I'm about to show you something, and we about to get outside, and we about to program a planet you about to see something pop off in this reality. That's just how I get down.
Yeah.
So I get the call out, and then I said, listen, y'all, the upcoming year, because I'm on the last day, and mind you, this is December 31st, 2010. This is the last day of 2010. I said, listen, in the new year, on January the 4th, there's going to be a solar eclipse. You can just type it up. I'm on NASA right now to make sure I got my facts right, but I remember. But January the 4th, 2011 was a solar eclipse. Now, what is January the 4th? January the 4th is the time of year when the Earth and the Sun are at its closest relationship throughout the whole year. But it's also the time of year when the Earth and Sun are in direct alignment with Sirius. This is why we have the new year, January the 1st.
Right.
This is why. So this is a Syrian light code transmission that gave Europeans the idea to say, I don't care that you run in the world, you have to represent this cosmic great ancestral truth of the cosmos to set your new year right here, and then the people of this landmass figure it out later. This is how God works, okay? So it's coming in on January the 4th. Now, at that time, I am still in conspiracy consciousness. I ain't gonna lie, I'm still in conspiracy consciousness. And I'm saying, like, wait a minute. If a solar eclipse is happening, which means a piece of the moon is going to go directly in front of the sun, it's a major alignment, it's eclipse. This is going to happen at about 13 degrees Capricorn, because January 1st is Capricorn season,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And I'm like, wait a minute, but Capricorn is government. Oh, snap, the government is going to harness this energy. They're trying to steal the cosmic energy, right?
Man, just had a whole conversation with the universe. Right? Yeah.
Right. So then I'm saying, well, bump it. Because I listen, the only thing you got to do is show me the games, and I'll create the formula.
Come
okay,
on,
that's
man.
what y'all want? Cool.
Right.
Well, this is what we going to get on there. So I say, listen, y'all, what we have to do, I came right back on January the 3rd, which is the day before the eclipse, and the government's going to steal the energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, listen, this is what we got to do. I know that we're in perfect alignment with Sirius, but the moon and the sun is going to be, because we in Capricorn, we in opposition to Sirius at this time. So to make it make sense, what I'm saying is, how can I put it in a diagram? What I'm saying is, on January the 1st, around this time of year, the new year, at midnight, when you go to the south part of the sky any time of the year, at midnight, but during this time of the year, January the 1st, Sirius is right there. So if you want to know where the Earth is in space-time reality, then it's understanding the constellation that is in the south at midnight. Because at midnight, you don't see the sun, right? The sun is not there, okay? Because our part of the Earth is totally turned away from the sun. So the sun is not in alignment with you in the south, okay? Technically.
Right.
So I said, this is what we have to do, y'all. We have to make a phone call to Sirius via the imagination, or what you would call prayer, right, or meditation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I gave a specific technique. I won't say what I did, but I gave a specific technique to concentrate on this particular star, the
Right.
great ancestral gateway that you African lovers, say that the temples was built to offset and all this, which is true, but you got to get to a point of activating, because this is what I don't get. You got to understand, these are a group of people who walk around with dogs on their head talking about their name is Anpu, a falcon on their head talking about my name is Forrest, I'm Peru. Like, what are you doing? You're walking around with masks on your head. Like, they was very serious about activating an aspect of consciousness inside of your brain into the mask over your head. All right? So, if you check the record, we do this meditation. I swear to you, if you check the record on, we do the meditation on the 3rd, which is the 1:30, because remember I said on December 31st, which is 3-1, right? I said the science of the number 13. So then when January the 4th is going to come with this alignment, this is when the Sun, Earth, and Sirius are in perfect alignment with each other, and Sirius is about 13 degrees Cancer, right?
Okay.
So we do a Syrian meditation to activate the particular principle, the number 13, on January the 3rd, coming back with the frequency 1-3, okay? So when the eclipse comes in 2 days later on January the 6th, you can Google this and fact check it. Type in pole shift 2011 and see on January the 6th, they had to shut down the Tampa Bay airport in Florida because the magnetic poles had shifted so drastically that they had to change the magnetic markers on the runway for the planes to land. The planes couldn't land accurately because the magnetic field had just got a crazy influx of energy.
Oh,
Facts, man. Facts.
Yeah,
And
real
then
time.
when you read in the story, they said they shut the runway down until January the 13th, man.
Come on, man. Come on now. What more you need?
And that's the same year that they came out and said, oh, the same timeline. Let me Google this. I want to be very, very clear on what I'm saying.
Go
in
ahead.
2011, that's when they came in, and it was like, what was that? 13 signs. When was that? Hold on, here go one right here. On January the 13th, the same day, they're telling you we're going to shut the runways down all the way up until the 13th, right?
Mm-hmm.
When January the 13th get here, that's when the news hit, when some astronomer said, there's 13 signs in the zodiac now.
Ah, now
But
you.
see, I'm going to tell you what that was.
Okay, go
That
ahead.
was the ancestral gateway from Sirius, showing you niggas who did the meditation and the activation via your imagination that this is the sign 13, because Sirius sits about 13 degrees Cancer. This was the sign to show you we receive the communication and we shift your pole. Hello, remember, you live in the world in the northern hemisphere, and just the world period where you got something called a Mayan Olmec calendar that said, listen, y'all concept of the world is over in 2012. Facts.
Oh, damn.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
They said it's over, but the world we know, the world and the earth is two totally different things.
Right,
I'll
right.
rock your world, baby. Right? So a world and the earth ain't the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So a world is a concept, man. So my point is, what can we do and use the imagination? Listen, man, only thing we gotta do is collectively get together and think about the same thing. And if you got the right magnetism, the right energy about yourself, what you're thinking about is going to happen. And I show this over and over again, and that's why you won't let me show it, because you know what I mean. It's like, oh, they gotta be responsible. And I'm like, listen, you ain't gotta. My whole point is revealing this is this, man. We ain't really gotta worry about a damn thing. For real, because I'll show you how this thing works. We don't got to worry about no police brutality if we want to put our minds to it. Now, the obvious question will be, well, why haven't you done it? Because I tell you why we haven't done it. See, you got to understand something, man. There's always been priests amongst society who can totally turn this thing upside down. But when you turn it upside down, and you get an act of God that comes through like a Hurricane Katrina, you know what happens? Niggas go crazy. And they start tearing stuff up, and they start fighting each other, and they scrambling for water and food because their survival was threatened. And you actually worsen the situation to a degree. So we just sit back and we say, you don't do that into the critical mass of the people, make the declaration to stand up. And this is why the Constitution is not the coldest document of this land. It's the Declaration of Independence, which started this whole thing, is the coldest document on this land, which means the consensus of the people has to make the declaration for Anpu personally in the priesthood to go back up to a mountaintop and say, bam, let's put this into the ether, and now we can change the program. That's what we can do with our imagination.
Okay.
I'll show you how we F some people up using the imagination. Straight up.
Straight up. It makes sense to me. I was getting ready to wrap it up, but you spoke to like one of my questions that I was going, try to avoid. That's crazy, but I had a question to the nature of this. I was talking to some friends recently. I want to say it was Thursday night. We was up, just really just talking about anything and everything, but the main subject was, we were speaking about sexuality in the sense that we wanted to talk about it in the context that we were unapologetic and but not vulgar, not not vulgar, but in a sense you don't want the children that are hearing it to feel ashamed of their sexuality, because often we're seeing our people acting out in ways that are very revealing of how ashamed we are of how we got here. You know what I'm saying? So after we had these conversations, I could see a lot of people feeling relieved and then being able to be themselves around their people. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these people I was talking to, we was all located in different places, right? But for the most part, we was on the East Coast. Now, we get up the next morning, everybody like, man, that was a great conversation we had, man. I'm glad I was able to share some of my experiences with y'all. Hope you learned some, and vice versa, just all across the board. Everybody's still at peace and tranquility with being able to share a moment in time with their brothers and sisters that's across the world, And I turned on I ain't even turned on the news. I went with my wife to get some food, and we was with her sister. And I happened to look up on the screen, and it was like the UC Berkeley riots. And the first intuition that came to my head was, hold on, this was taking place at the same time where we were celebrating life and, feeling the freedom of, being able to express, our experiences with sexuality, our joy in having children and, stuff like that, just really celebrating the importance of life. And to wake up and see that on the opposite scale, or my diametric opposites were, at war overnight with the police. And to me, my intuition was telling me, here it is, they fighting our battles, because if we talking about we need rights, or we that's the problem we having. If they over there fighting for rights, and we know good and well when stuff is done to them, there's a system set up to right that wrong. You know what I'm saying? So for them to be out fighting for rights, it's like subconsciously, even if that's not their intentions, they're out here fighting for the rights of us, because our rights are the ones that are being treaded upon. You know what I mean? So I wanted to know if you had any insight onto, the intuition I was feeling, and I was like, darn, okay, so while we celebrating, they over there fighting for our rights, or they over there tearing down the system that we feel like is, trying to destroy our families, which is our system.
That's a great perception, and really it's just an illustration of, what we were just talking about. How can we use our imagination? We've been spinning, I said it before, we've been spinning our wheels for hundreds of years now, picking up guns, fighting, physically, literally fighting, and it's not working. It's just not working, right? We're still complaining about the same shit we was complaining about in the 60s. We're still complaining about the same shit we was complaining about during slavery, right? As far as our communities and our relationships among each other, right? And so when we start talking about the power, the very deep, immense power of that subtle realm, and start using our imagination, the things start to pop up in our reality where, like I said before, we will find out through that power you ain't got to lift a finger.
Nope.
Right? Your imagination, the universe, God, whatever it is that you want to call it, angels, whatever, will see to it that elements, people, situations, circumstances are put into place to see to it that thy will be done.
Thanks.
And you didn't have to lift a finger, right? And I love your perception of that, because you immediately were able to connect it with the experience that you had just had. You could have looked at that as, oh, we failed, we still having a fight, Nah. I my favorite saying, my life motto is the universe is constantly, at all moments, and all times, conspiring for my success.
Right.
I believe that. I know that to be true. And the deeper I have leaned into that personally, man, the more God, the universe, the great creator, whatever, has, and Noble talked about it earlier. See, a lot of us, we have this really confused, really sick relationship, understanding of God, of time, of the cosmos, of these things. You know, these things are difficult for us to understand, right? And it's understandable because, and we're talking about us as a people again, a lot of us are used to calling on our God, and our God does not show up on our behalf. A lot of us have been programmed into the thinking that, based on certain characteristics, I'm a woman, I'm black, that ultimately God don't like us, right? God is punishing us in some way for some reason, right? You know, we receive this story of Ham, right? The black folks are supposed to be, and there's a big difference between what's present and what's stated in these religious books versus the way that these teachings are taught. Those are two totally different things, right? So the people, we've been taught that we're the descendants of Ham, right? And let's not get into original sin. As far as all of humanity is concerned, we are all sinners by nature, and God then just set up His matrix for his own pleasure, for His entertainment, to watch us fail, right? And our subscription to those ideas, our beliefs in those ideas, are the reason why our God don't show up on our behalf. Our God is laying dormant, right? Because we subscribe to the idea that because I'm this, because I'm that, then God doesn't really care about me. I have to, I always say I don't like the word blessed. I don't like to say, you know, people ask you how you doing. Oh, I'm blessed. Because to be blessed is the implication that God is picking and choosing when it's fucking with you, right? You know, today everything went well. I got everywhere I wanted to go on time. I got some money in my bank account. You know, life is good. God is in my favor. Well, tomorrow when it start raining and my car break down and, you know, bang my knee up against the, you know, wall and break my leg, whatever the case may be, right? Oh, now the devil is at work. God then gave permission to the devil to come fuck with me, right? I don't subscribe to that personally. But that was something that I had to reprogram myself out of, right? So when we start to reprogram ourselves, when we start to really lean into these positive perceptions of ourselves, positive perceptions of our people, positive perceptions of our family, right? That's when we activate that inner God. And when we lean into, we're gonna be confronted with the opportunities to simply lean into it, because we gotta be reprogrammed. So we gotta embrace those opportunities. I love that idea. We have to learn to look at conflict as an opportunity for us to call on our God, and our God come and show up and show out on our behalf. And a lot of us is not used to that, right? So the example that you gave was a really great demonstration of you giving permission to your God to show up on your behalf. You didn't have to lift a finger, and thy will is being done. You didn't even have to pick up the phone and call. Well, you did energetically pick up the phone and call somebody, just through the dialogue, just through the harmonious nature of that conversation that you had just gotten done with, right? Y'all were making an energetic investment and made that thing grow. And your God showed up on your behalf. So that is a great demonstration of what it is we can do with our imagination.
Indeed.
Absolutely. I don't even have that in this baby, huh? That one.
If y'all want to give y'all information again, so we make sure that people can contact y'all, because I know, you know, I enjoyed it, and, you know, like I say, I am able to relate to a lot of people just on the strength that I see myself. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure if I enjoyed this, it's other people that's gonna want to reach out and, let y'all know and encourage y'all to keep sharing yourself with us so we can keep seeing ourselves and support what y'all doing, because, too often, we listen to people and we feel like somebody else gonna support them, you know what I'm saying? So I encourage anybody that's listening and everybody that's listening, we gotta support our people, because, too often these type of voices go away because we like, darn, I don't see, the feedback. I know that ain't y'all, but, I feel like we need to support our people, even though we got diehards, people that, dedicate their lives to this like y'all do. So I feel like it should be reciprocated, you know what I mean, to increase that power, that energy that we talking about. So if y'all could leave y'all information again, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Family, please send us some of that energetic currency.
Yeah, no.
Like I mentioned that for the show, y'all can reach me at nikkifield@gmail.com. Y'all can find me on YouTube, Nikki Fielder, and also make sure y'all check out that website, www.nikki, like David, Nova, Nova, collection.bigcartel.com.
Thank you. All right, bro.
We on Blog Talk every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Blog Talk Radio, and just hit the Inner Peace Lighthouse. And our show is called Zodiac Lovers. So we go in every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can also email us directly at zodiaclovers@gmail. We over there. Got any questions for us, man, we can get to you via that platform, man. MyAstrologyCoach.com as well, man. Actually, we have a Valentine's Day special that we want to help people understand that soulmate or karmic mate energy. We just got to get to the cranny of this thing. Are you in a soulmate union? Are you in a karmic union? And if so, how can you reverse that energy by your consciousness and your participation to have more of the soulmate qualities come in, so you can get to that desired place that I call EC, extreme compatibility, because I believe that's what we're all secretly searching for deep down and whatnot. So you can get to that myastrologycoach.com for the consultation. Hit the Valentine's Day special that also expires on February the 14th, man. You can make it to Las Vegas on March the 18th. There, we're going to have a powerful workshop. We're going to kick it a weekend in Vegas and get this guap and just have some fun. I'm going to have some technology there to show you your aura, the energy around you. And we're going to talk about energy. I'm going to show you. And most importantly, I give you the technique, because I got plenty of myself of experience of showing you how I go from an imbalanced energetic field and chakras not even spinning to a balanced, complete energetic field. My chakras is all the way up.
All the way up.
And I can show you the before and after pictures. So we're going to be in Vegas March the 18th with this technology. You can get to that by My Astrology Coach. Take your time, browse to the website. If you got any questions, man, feel free to call me, 267-403-4078 is the office line. And hit us up, man. We appreciate you, bro, for the opportunity, man. Anytime you need us, we here.
Man, I definitely appreciate both of y'all. And family, y'all hear that we there. We gotta, believe that we gonna be there in Vegas, and we will be there. So also come with the intentions of having a story to tell. So you start applying these things into your life so you can see the power of you. Once again, I want to thank y'all for coming through and being, accessible to the people. Too often we hear, great information, and it's hard to get in touch with people. I just want y'all to know this is family. I never, reached out to this brother or this sister and felt like, man, I don't know how I'm going to tell them, because we had plenty of difficulties trying to, make this interview happen, but every time they was ready and willing, and it shows their intentions to get this information to the people, because too often we think, these things is hard, but we really just missing the information or a little further insight on how we can make these things happen. So I just want to thank y'all a million times over, Appreciate y'all coming through, family. We definitely gonna be there in Vegas. Family, y'all support. Y'all take down that information and contact our brother and our sister, Noble Anpu and Miss Nikki. Thank you.
You're welcome, bro. Thank you.
Peace. I love you as myself, family. We out this thing. Sometime me, sometime you, but it's always us. Our interviews formulate our perception of the world, Today we will invoke thought that reminds us of our greatness to be applied in real time as we gain insights looking over our life's experiences. I love you as myself, family. Keep it moving. Keep it growing. Know what you should be doing.